Hello everyone and welcome. My name's John McGrath. I'm Artistic Director of Factory International. Welcome to our home, Aviva Studios, and to a very, very special event. I am not going to say much because there are other people here to talk with and introduce SuAndi, but I am going to say that this is one of my favorite people in the entire world, and that this moment of celebrating a body of work by an artist of such integrity, depth, and care for the world is one that I know everyone in the room feels truly moved and truly joyous to be part of. It's going to be an amazing hour. We're going to hear SuAndi in conversation with Dave, and there will be an opportunity for a Q&A. This is also being live streamed around the world. And so we would ask if you are part of the Q&A, we will ask you to talk into a microphone. And yes, we know your voice is really loud and you can be heard without a microphone, but please still do use it because otherwise nobody online will be able to hear you. So I'm now going to hand over to Michael Schmidt from Carcanet, obviously the great publishers who have been behind this fantastic endeavour. And I hope that you're looking forward to the next hour as much as I am. So over to Michael, but first of all, a round of applause for SuAndi, one of many, I'm sure.
I never thought this day would come. SuAndi is one of those poets, unlike almost all other poets, who's very reluctant to be published. And uneasy about publication. So she should be an example to every poet, budding poet in the country. Don't publish young. She has published quite a lot down the years. And don't publish very young. Wait until you're in your mid-30s, like SuAndi. We met and immediately took a liking to one another, having sort of, in a sense, disliked each other for a long time down the years. And we became sort of fast friends. And early on, I said, we must try and do a book of your poems. And then it was a courtship, really. No, no, no. And finally, yes. But after the yes, there was a very long period of yes and no. And there was also a period of assembly. And there was a period when I think I lost part of the manuscript. And then John McAuliffe came in and helped with the editing of the book. So it has been a long process, and in a sense, it's a joyful process because it has kept our friendship on its toes, and we've had a chance to see one another quite a lot. I'm looking forward to volume 2. I think what was said before is true. The thing that really recommends SuAndi's work to me is its integrity and its wholeness. And I think she probably regards herself, I shouldn't put words in her mouth, but as a performance poet, and feels uneasy to see the words trapped, pasted down on the page forever. And so that, and I think it was brave of a poet of this kind to commit herself to paper. And I think it was also a wonderful experience for all of us to be able to read the poems as well as to hear them. I hope there'll be a lot of recordings of her writing, of her performances. And I do think this is a wonderful achievement, a wonderful sort of testimony to an early part of a life's work. And I hope it will be followed by many more. Anyway, it's a joy to have SuAndi on the list, and it's a joy to have this event tonight. And thank you very much for being a Carcanet poet.
And welcome from me. My name is Dave Moutrey, and I'm here at the launch of SuAndi's work. Oh, you are here for SuAndi and not Maria Romanovich. You're in the wrong place, if you are. SuAndi's new collection, a comprehensive collection of poems that also contains a libretto for Mary Seacole. I'm really flattered by her to be able to have this conversation about her works. That picks up on some of the poems in the collection, so we're going to hear some reading tonight. As I'm clearly not Melvyn Bragg, I'm unaccustomed to hosting sort of literary events. This is not my natural territory, so hopefully I won't screw it up, because I'll get told off if I do. I did ask SuAndi if she would sing some of the sections from Mary Seacole, but she gracefully declined. So I'm going to focus on her poetry, and I also know you'd be more interested in hearing from SuAndi than hearing from me, so I'm going to keep my bits mercifully brief from your point of view. The book starts with a transcript of a conversation that SuAndi had with Professor John McCall, who's here this evening, from the University of Manchester, where they discuss her work. And they talk about many things, but I was struck by a couple of things. One that she said, I'm going to read the quote here. A performance piece is always written in my head. A poem I've written for the page I will rarely perform. I never really remember it. I might look at a performance piece and seeing it again, notice that I don't do that line anymore. But something written for the page stays on the page. I've no idea about the mix of both kinds of poem here, no idea. Just going through the work for this collection did my head in. I found work I'd forgotten about. So to some extent, we're heading into, this is me speaking by the way now, not SuAndi, we're heading into unknown territory here. As when I asked SuAndi, when I was asked by SuAndi to suggest some points for this reading, when I was asked by SuAndi to suggest some points for this reading, I had no idea what was written performance and what was not. So we're going to go on a magical mystery tour here. And she also told me not to tell her what I was going to ask. So all the questions are a surprise to SuAndi as they're to you. And just one thing that's important here, an editorial note. SuAndi says that I'll read here. She says, I always use black in the political sense with a capital B, embracing African, Caribbean and Asian heritage. So when we talk about black this evening, that's what SuAndi's talking about, just so everybody's clear about that. So that's the convention I'm going to follow for this event. So I'm suggesting that I suggested a selection of poems from that speak to some of the recurring themes in SuAndi's poetry. And I'm going to list off some of the things, and I thoroughly enjoyed reading the book. I was privileged to get an advance copy of it. Talks a lot about place: Manchester, Ghana, Nigeria, Africa, Moss Side, Hume and others. Protest, community, solidarity, women, ordinary women, strong black women, mothers, black men, racism, truth, ageing, loss, family, relationships and love, school, history and connection with Africa, sexual violence, prisons and the prison system. There's a lot in this book. It's a social document as well as a collection of poetry. There's a lot in this book which I found moving, joyous, funny, punchy, wise, insightful, angry, loving and caring. It's SuAndi, what do you expect? But never maudlin. And I found that really interesting. So, for the first reading, we're going to hear one of SuAndi's poems, which about a place that is close to her heart. So we're going to start off with Old Moss Side.
I'm going to quickly say, when I first started performing, I couldn't understand why people got up and did a long introduction about the piece of work. You know, I was on holiday, I met this man, I didn't meet this man, I was walking through the street, blah, blah, and then they'd go, I think the poem speaks for itself, and I'd think, well, it doesn't, because you did a big intro. But I am going to go, because a lot of these are page work. So on the corner of Moss Side, where there's Heineken Brewery, used to be the library, and that was the hub. Across the road was the Big Alec. And in the summer, mainly Caribbean women would put on these striped blazers, dress up and sit there and watch people go by. Old Moss Side, when ladies would sit park bench outside the library to watch, to chat, to gossip, as the hot sweat of police horses waft through the air. They, some are resplendent in striped blazers of dark hue, the fashion of the day. I remember across the street, Mr. Finney's shop. He didn't stock anything to make dinner of, a few old yams and cornmeal, or Gary too stale to make fufu. Those times, summer's melted road tar, as people recall times back home, when mangoes swelled and dropped and goats found shade on branches too high to fetch down, while scrawny dogs dreamed of moist meat to reveal the hunger of their destitution. Those who drove cars drove slow to be recognised. Princes rode the catwalk for their four-wheeled parades. Daytime, the Nile and the Reno seemed innocent as the White Cliff Cinema, holding fantasies and fantastic stories of adventure, love, loss, heroism. Back then, summer seemed to last forever, though autumn was always impatient. Moving too soon, moved into the present, scattering everywhere with falling leaves, a cloak in readiness for the coming of winter.
What made you write this paean to Moss Side, this sort of love letter?
Because the Moss Side, or the Hume, because I'm a Hume race, I remember, was multiculturally in harmony and in dispute with itself. So there was we were black people together, but we were Caribbeans and we were, on my side, Nigerians. But we lived together in I'm going to say like a distant respect. I'm looking at people who grew up in the same area. Like we respected each other in our own cultural heritage, but when we also recognised that there was a wall of racism in front of that we all stood behind. Yeah, but it wasn't all drugs and prostitutes and the way the media has portrayed Moss Side at that time.
Yeah.
And don't forget the Irish were with us as well.
So staying with place connected to history, but this time about a connection to a place in which one no longer lives. So before you read Some Days Like We Are the Lost, was there a particular event or moment that inspired you to write it?
The first time I went to when I used to have a shaven head, and people used to stop and talk to me in a foreign language, and it took me years to work out they were mainly either Ethiopian or Somali. Something about the shape of the head. No one ever knows I'm Nigerian. I go to Ghana, I'm 2 days in Ghana, and somebody pushes past me, and I turn round, and somebody behind said, oh, SuAndi is Nigerian. And I went, how do you know? He said, the look in your eye. And I realised that in this melting pot of the UK, sometimes we lose that connection, but it's kind of makes sense. It's within the deepness of our genes. Some days we are like the lost, sparring between a land and culture, a memory of a place unknown. Children born here, still regarded as foreign, taking trips to visit families, arriving like strangers, leaving full of sadness, to return to a life made secure by elders, seeing our children hooking up with mates as English as crumpet, loyal friends they can depend on. If leaving here meant losing them, we can never go, and leave all of this so familiar, at times cruel, at times so wonderfully laughable. So we gather together in the rituals of carnival, birthdays, weddings, and to celebrate life at funerals. Clothe ourselves in ancestral heritage, resplendent in the knowledge that once we were Africans, and in our hearts we still are, by the girth of our soul, the soul of our spirits, Africans abroad.
When we were talking about, I said there were points in there that I found moving, and that was one of them.
Thank you.
I read it really moved me. Anyone who was around and involved in arts, culture, politics, activism in Manchester will remember, particularly in the 80s, will remember the organisation, which is the legendary organisation, which is subject of your next poem. Do you want to go into read Abyssindi, 1981?
Abyssindi, 1981. The day was not normal. For days, the air was static with tension. It was feared, expected, and rejected as easily as breathing. Hair weaves continued. Corn rowing and stock checking, African fabric and outfits, amongst the drums ready for rehearsals. No Facebook or Twitter existed to newsflash, but everybody knew it, heard it, smelt the fear, felt the anger. when all exploded at 2 a.m., this space, this haven for women and children, now opened its arms to refugees of local, not global, despair, welcomed the injured, the frightened. This space gave solace and protection exactly when needed. One day, July the 8th, 24 hours. 2 days, July the 9th, 48 hours. 1981, Abercrombie never closed its doors to anyone.
Now, I know in your interview with John McAuliffe, you said that you would never say that the poem speaks for itself, but to me this one does, and it's perhaps because I'm aware of the history. I don't know, but when did you write Abercrombie 1981? Was it close to the events that you mentioned, or was it at a distance? Were you looking at it in the past, in some substantial distance?
I know somebody in this room is thinking she wasn't even born then. I can't remember. Because I always say my life in the arts started in 1985, and maybe that's my memory. But I do know that Abercrombie opened its doors and brought people to safety, whether they were black or white. That wasn't the matter. They were looking after their community. And Abercrombie is one of our oldest cooperatives, you know. And I was never a member, but they were a group of women that I always looked to and respected. And I felt that this was a moment that wasn't recorded because it was around the Moss Side riots, obviously I'm talking about. And it was all about the bad that was happening, but very little about the good. Yeah. You know?
And was it something about that place that really pushed you on as a poet, or is it just part of that rich
no,
tapestry?
I think it was running side by side. I mean, I give a lot of respect to my brother, Assassin, because he was known for his rap and his word knowledge and stuff like that. When I first started performing, a lot of the guys said, "You're all right, but you're not as good as Assassin." That was always the talk, you know.
So sticking with protest, can you please introduce and read your next poem?
I'm tired of protesting outside. I want to be inside, where it's warm and they are serving coffee, with odd tasting sandwiches and biscuits single wrapped. You can throw your crumbs to the birds. I have taken to the streets so many times, my feet are blistered. Can I now stand by the lectern with a microphone instead of my mouth working like a megaphone? My lungs burn from inhaling the fumes of all this shit. I'd like to breathe in the air of power and exhale with reason. Tired of screaming my rights, it ain't right. I have signed so many petitions, my hand writes as I am sleeping. Now I click my support from one campaign to the next, and still I'm outside, ostracized to the inside, where you gather to ask of me in hushed tones in case I am listening. We can't hear you at the back, while you refuse to speak louder, for fear your conspiracies will spark a revolution. And I am armed, part of an army of many, across the many hues of my people. You can keep on scheming. We will weep and bury our fallen, pushed over and stomped on by you, generation after generation. But we see your fear, and what we cannot see, we smell. Just like equality, it's in the air, blowing closer and closer and closer and closer.
So you could have written that poem today. Some things haven't changed. But when did you write it, and why did you write it?
I was watching a film about, watching a film about the feminist movement in America, and the black woman whose name I don't know, who once stood for president of the United States of America, and how these feminists were with her, but all the time she was outside the group. And she actually says the line, "I'm tired of protesting outside." And that's quite often what makes me write a poem. One line you think, wow.
Triggers it.
Yeah, and I always acknowledge.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And in fact, actually, you mentioned that in the interview you have with at the front
Yeah,
of the book
always,
with John McCall. Yeah, indeed. So the next poem, Playing for Life, sits across a number of themes that you regularly revisit, and is another poem that I think speaks for itself. Can you read it for us now, please?
I can do. Every woman in this room knows how the other side of the track often accuse women of overacting, overreacting. And when you're a black woman, it's often you're being aggressive, you know, you're not doing it properly, you know, calm down, you're acting up. Am I an actress? You're fooling. Ask me if I'm black. Ask me that. Go on, ask me that. You see, the role I play wasn't written just for me. The script is etched upon my heart. With birth of life, I learnt my part. The stage I play is all the world, against backdrops painted shades of white, is how I'm seen and heard. Upstage I act humility. Downstage I perform soliloquy. Stage right here, the freedom in my delivery. Sometimes the audience, the eye cannot see, as backstage my lips speak silently, and in their seats the quivering mass pray for the guilt-ridden scene not to last. In mime, I am brilliant. See the emotion in my eyes. The silence is terrifying, because in silence, there are no lies. Sometimes I do comedy. Come on, laugh at me. Laugh until your tears flow. Laugh. Enjoy my show. Do I sing? And you see me dance? You see me rhythm in my feet and watch you relax. The actor has many faces. There are many sides to me. And you will be mesmerized in your search for my reality. In center stage, I am the star. And the depth of my talent has taken me far, because this play I'm in is over 600 years old. The end is not yet written. The final chapter still untold. And when it is, please God, then you who have been watching will finally understand that the need for all my acting has been your oppression, white man.
We'll have this off to Pat by the time we finish, won't we? So that when I read that, I thought that was a powerful piece of writing, and I mean it's almost like a novel in one poem. So what was it inspired by a specific event, or tell us about where that came from.
I was one of the longest members of the board of the North West Arts Board, the Early Arts Council. The chair hated me. There was a councillor from Liverpool, she had a bread bun. You know that hairstyle, it's like a lump and then a lump on the top, like a double cob. And she knew the business, big busted woman. She'd say, chair, chair, and he'd say, what's SuAndi, to her. And I'd speak and he'd call me her name. We were discussing the near one time and I'd said something and he'd said, and are you speaking for all the black people? And I went, yeah, because I'm only one here. Well, you can't. I said, I can, you know. And then he kept going at me and telling me I was overreacting and the rest of it. And it really came from there. Even when I got the OBE, he acknowledged it when I was out the room having a wee. That's how much he liked me.
Okay.
You asked.
I asked. We're going to do a double header now.
Okay.
When I first read the next two poems, History Knows Its Places, I actually said at the end of it, oh, hell yeah. And then the second poem, Jamaican Blues, I also read as being about truth. Both of these are fundamentally about truth. I mean, a lot of other things, but there's a truth in them that really struck me a lot. So, do you want to read them and then maybe disagree with me afterwards? Or?
No. I always tell kids in workshop to spell history for me, and I usually then say, you know, please, can you spell his? Can you spell his? Go on. Alima, can you spell story? Louder. Can you spell your word again?
H-I-S-T-O-R.
No, his. Yeah?
Story.
No. You know, children are so easy, aren't they? The fact that the word is his story, and when you tell children that, they're like, and it's never her story or our story. So, history knows its place. It sits comfortable on dusty shelves, in dark rooms, dank in a smell, and it holds its breath for one who comes to turn the leaves of fantasy and believe that everyone reveals the truth, a branch reaching back to yesterday. It knows its place in well-lit design libraries where students comply and do not question, just copy and rework for the essays their future depends on, while the public runs their fingers across titles seeking biographies, celebrities whose history might last a year, maybe more, possibly less. History knows its best to say little of truth, not confess a lie, but in detail claim that's how life was back then. A defence that takes no responsibility for today's bigotry, the blanket of lies, falsehoods, knitted into the camouflage of truth. Yeah, history knows its place. Jamaicans in the room, forgive me, because, you know, I can't do patois. The only blue in Jamaica is the sky. The people are red, hot, delicious. Blue is for hard times. Hard times in Jamaica come regular, like a renegade cousin sneaking to get something quick they no work for. But blue? Not we. Blue came with England. Blue days of blue toes in winter. Blue spiraling hurt bad by bigotry. Long memories of blue skies left across the sea, the place where we came to after we were taken, building shacks upon plantations, bending low to cut cane, looking high into the mountains for those Maroons living freestyle, living native. Slavery turned into some kind of freedom and then independence. But it took reggae, burning spears and Marley, to re-educate all Jamaicans that we know we are from Africa.
So moving in slightly different territory again, love, desire, relationships are all complicated, and your next poem captures the complexity particularly well, I think. So please read us Sometimes.
Sometimes you cock your head and smile at me. It's a stupid smile, a stupid smile. And sometimes you laugh at me, not with me, but at me. Not often, but sometimes. Sometimes I think you could cry for me, weep for me, die for me. And sometimes you never think of me. Often, not sometimes. Sometimes when you take hold of me, squeeze, embrace and lie with me, my body aches from the feel of thee. But sadly now, that's only sometimes. Sometimes I think I am over you, free of you. I'll find somebody new, 'cause I know a a sweet, smart, sexy, sassy lady like me can get better than you. Sometimes I think that. Sometimes.
So, tell us who that was about then. Afterwards.
Many a man, actually.
Okay, so your next poem, I Am Your Family, is a special request. Can you tell us about that, please?
I'm turning out the page because when David first sent me, he said a few poems, and there was pages of poems, and I was like, oh my God. I am from a Scouse mother with Irish blood and a Nigerian father. I always used to say to people, particularly in the arts when I was on the board, don't worry about the Nigerian, worry about the Irish. You know, worry about the Irish in me. And my mum, my poor mum used to turn up for parents' nights, and they used to leave her to one side because they never could associate her with the black daughter. And that thing of not being recognised as a parent is heartbreaking. It's really heartbreaking. And the reverse, when she died, I remember going to the solicitors, and I arrived about 3 o'clock, and I was still at 5 o'clock, and they kept coming out looking for Mrs. Andy's daughter. And they weren't looking at me, and suddenly finally said, can I help you? And I said, I've got an appointment. They went, no, we've only got somebody called Mrs. Andy. I went, I'm a daughter. So, this is my mother's voice, or any parent of a child that's a different skin. I am your family. Which wasn't the truth, or a lie either. My father, her husband, lived outside our days, leaving by his own choosing. We, mother and daughter, were so different yet similar. No one questioned my father, but my mother fought for recognition at parents' evenings, hospital appointments, everywhere we went together. I am your family, she told me, cursing the air she breathed every time I risked my life in the foolishness of late nights out, too close canoodling with boys too young to make their own families. Saturday nights, her one day of leisure, I would watch my mother and worry that the swell of her breasts and fullness of stomach might pass gene to my slim form. I looked close and slightly disapproving of the pale alabaster of her skin compared to the rich nutty brown of my own. Now she is gone, left forever. I find her habits and rituals I remember were hers, now mine. Now alone I understand. I was loved totally by my mother. She was all my family.
Just as evidence, when I was asked to make a selection of poems from this, just to put, I've done the homework. There were loads. It's really hard to choose which ones to. So I commend this book to you. Please buy a copy, and you will not regret reading it. There's so much depth in it, and as I say, as well as a work of art, it's a social document as well. There's a lot of really interesting stories and important stories in there. So we've got a bit of time for some questions. We've got 2 poems to finish off with, so we're going to finish with poetry. But in the meantime, does anybody have any questions for SuAndi?
Hello.
Hello.
I don't know how to look at this. I was looking at this and thinking how extraordinary it must be looking back at words that you wrote years ago. And as well as being a social document, is it also a kind of autobiography? I just wondered if you looked at it and thought, I've changed. Do you see change in yourself? Or do you see, no, actually, I'm essentially the same person?
I think I'm the same person. It was odd. John, where's John? So John has never seen me read or perform. And I was very glad when Michael passed the selection over, because I know Michael, so we couldn't have a fight and argument. But when John went through his first selection, I thought it was quite amazing that he was picking work out, that he knew my voice. Although a lot of the work in the book is page work over performance pieces. But no, I think I'm still the same. I think I am the nosy child. You know, I watch people, and I think that's what I do. There are many voices in this book, and I learned very early on. Let me name drop, and not that name drop Tracy thinks I'm going to do, not him. One time I hung out with Eartha Kitt. So Jerry, where's Jerry? Jerry ran and Ian ran Bot Records. Here's some history for you. And they recorded myself and Len. We made tape recordings for the cassette recordings. That's how long ago it was. And Eartha Kitt was asked to review mine. And I was like, what did Eartha Kitt know about my life? And my mum adored Eartha Kitt, obviously. So I was told not to contact her, so I did. Because I thought I need to kind of, you know. And one thing she said to me was, you want to hang out with Eartha Kitt? Go buy a ticket. You want to hang out with Eartha? I'm here. And I realised there again that SuAndi goes home and there's a SuAndi on the stage. That makes sense? So for me, a lot of these are characters.
Hi, Sue. Good, great to hear all a small selection, and long may it continue. But so I suppose thinking of yourself as an artist, I feel as if I've not heard, and although we've had lots of chats over the years, I don't think I've ever, really thought about the process as an artist and how you've developed, and questions I've got in my mind. I mean, any influences you've got, but particularly in my mind, I'm sort of wondering, where is there a way in which you write? Do poems come to you in a certain way? Do you sit down at quiet moments, or is it all varied, or do you reflect on stuff? Do you research stuff?
No.
And and also has the process changed? What kind of process influence, and has it changed over a period of time?
No.
The world is different. How do you feel that's influenced you? Because obviously things have changed. So just any of those.
It's still sound bites.
It's kind of fishing, really.
It's still sound bites. Jillian Hush used to be a producer at Radio 4. I used to go to Exchange for a lot, and she used to say, I know when you're writing because your head goes like that. And often I'm listening, and I'll hear something, and then I'll keep repeating it in my head, and then I'll say it out loud. When I lived in Burton Road, I had a lodger who had a boyfriend, and I was writing a poem about a girl with special needs, and I was laying in bed, and he must have thought, this woman's crazy, going, I'm not an idiot, I'm just slow. I'm not stupid, because that's the voice I do it in, until I got it perfect. So I always write in my head first. But they're always overheard tidbits, what we would call sound bites, I suppose now. Yeah, two people gossiping on the bus. Not that I've been on a bus for ages, but you know what I mean? In a restaurant, I'll hear something, and then ordinary people say the most extraordinary things. Yeah.
But to follow on from Kuja's question, do you go through lots of versions of the same poem, or do you find that just that's it?
If it's in my head, it's normally that's it. And you rely on the publisher to edit what's wrong. But sometimes I go back to them and I think, oh, I've dropped that verse. It obviously didn't work, Yeah.
Any other questions?
We don't have to do questions because we've got wine.
Well, we've got wine.
And cake.
On the front row. Microphone, is it around? Oh, where are we? Oh, there you are, John. Thanks.
So on to be here, SuAndi. Congratulations.
Good, darling.
We'd love to know a bit more about the artwork behind it. Obviously, you've got this wonderful piece, and just
Faith, stand,
and
stand,
why,
stand.
it'd be good to know.
Stand up, Faith.
Gorgeous.
Faith Bevington is an amazing artist who has produced covers for many Black BA stuff and our Black History Month catalogues, all the rest of it, and this. And it's wonderful, isn't it? Wonderful. Yeah. And Joel kept it for ages. I had to get it back tonight. So, no more questions?
I think
Yeah.
Well, it's not really a question, Sue. I just want to say you've not mentioned that you played such an instrumental part in the Black Arts Alliance, which brought artists from all over the Northwest. That was quite an achievement. In your book, have you mentioned that?
No. No, because it's another hat. You know what I mean?
No, that's okay, because I can see book 2 coming. I really can. Congratulations.
Thank you, darling.
And I would say that personally, poetry is not my natural habitat, but I think this is a collection that's worth reading is right the way through, rather than just dipping in and doing bits and pieces. It's something that pays, it repays that attention, I think. Okay, so we've got 2 poems to finish off with. The Publisher and Lean Against Time. Now, I'll let you read those in a moment, but what I'd like you to do is just to tell us why you chose Lean Against Time as the title for the collection.
We were going to go with Anonymous. Was it Anonymous? Something like that?
Unaccompanied.
Unaccompanied. It sounded like Billy No Mates. Just mean. And Henry Norman always said, your title should always be the title of one of your poems. So that's why.
And that one?
Which one you pointing?
Specifically, why did you go for Leading Against Time?
Because I've forgotten address, innit?
Ah.
And when I found out, oh, that'll do. You know, I mean, Michael's told half the story, but I think what the process at Carcanet is that marketing contacts you about the title of your book and blah, blah, blah. And I went back and said, I don't have a book. And I saw Michael, and Michael said, with a rude word, we're fucking publishing. I went, oh, okay. I want to see everything you've ever written. So I started a file called Crap or something. And then I tried to put it in themes and that went over, you know. But I was finding work that I just hadn't seen for such a long time. Quite a shock. And that's kind of what the work that John seemed to go for. But John keeps saying I've been writing for decades. He's a cheeky sod.
Okay, so SuAndi, the final 2 poems,
Okay.
The Publisher and then Leaning Against Time.
So Michael Schmidt of Carcanet was doing an online launch. And I thought, oh, I better show Willing. I better watch it. It'll be dead clever. I won't understand anything because he's a proper poet. He's also quite a rascal as well. And he lost a friend a couple of years ago, I think now. And that was very obvious in the book. I think it's called Looking for Stanley. Where is it? Is it called Looking for Stanley? Talking to Stanley, yeah. And through the screen came Michael's love for this man that he'd lost, and also the wickedness, and I say that with a little W wiggle of his character. I look at you and think, with despair born out of affection, why have I missed so much? Mischief sits on your upper lip, wisdom in your chin, and elegance in the essence of your mind. I imagine, not with a lover's regret, time past is gone forever, is too long for a lifetime, and if only belongs to wistfulness. Yet if only in the 80s, when maturity opened its arms, you had been there too, to embrace me in welcome. So the 90s would have been as naughty as middle age should be. I can't even find that poem now. All the pages I'm turning are all the other poems that David picked out. Oh, where is it?
I've got it here if you want.
Yeah, please. I've just seen it. Okay. Oh! I know I've got it.
There we go. Leaning Against Time. I'll be a page turner.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. Oh, let's see. There is a thing about women who walk the streets a judgmental thing about women who walks the streets. And when I did Afro Solo, I remember one of the guys saying how lucky he was that his mother didn't have to turn to prostitution to feed the family, and he had empathy for those who did. And then we had the series when we were looking at the lives of gypsies, remember that? And we were laughing at the weddings and the dancing, and yet regular people are now doing the same gyration, dancing and dressing the same in the weddings. So I think there's a belief in the working class that empathy and sorrow for the woman that has to sell her body in order to feed her children and keep herself safe. But this poem is about the historical selling of black women's bodies within this country. I see myself waiting on this street corner of all that is England, like a prostitute tired of the business, yet waiting still for that special lover. Blind to the big pockets of small change and no paper for creativity, fat wallets with no lips to shape a conversation. My eyes turn down to the dirt of my situation and see there reflected the passing all shades of this black and white reality. Those too lean to lay a hip next to, those stomachs wider than desire could stretch a leg over. I hear their muttering, the cursing of, who does she think she is? Too ugly to be my taste, too worn, too wide, too choosy for her own good. I hear, but like a deaf mute, I remain as still as any public commission, a subject of debate for some, possibly a waste of time for others, and therefore absolutely no interest. On bad days when chills whip past this place I have taken for my own, I tell myself, this waiting will be the death of me, and the full glow of my living will simply fade into that darker shade of blood, red, dead. Sometimes I shuffle impatient, trying to hustle up an early arrival, but my welcoming dance is mauled by the stubbornness of my legs. My body takes on the bruising of this waiting as I'm jostled by incidents out of my control. But I remain steadfast, and if you pass by, you will see me, a sentinel, a believer, keeping my faith, leaning against time.
SuAndi.
Can I just... Thank you. Can I just be naughty? Can I just be naughty? When I told Michael the process of this, Michael said, God, I hope he picks poems from the book. And I thought, I'm going to be rude, I'm going to read a final poem that's not in the book. But it has a connection a bit to Michael. So I'm in the States, I'm in Columbus, Ohio, and I'm going to Mexico, to University of Mexico. And it's over east when there's loads of flights and things, and they cancel. Now, I'm a person, when I arrive somewhere, I unpack my suitcase, and I immediately start repacking again. I've got this whole thing. I wash my curtains before I leave my home, and not just about clean underwear, you know, the whole thing. So the people in the Arts Centre kept saying to me, I bet you don't want to go home, SuAndi, I bet you want to stay. I was like, no, I'm dying to get I'm bloody dying to get home. Anyway, I go out for lunch one day. At the same time, Benny Hill is now on American TV, and they're going bonkers. They can't understand the crudity of Benny Hill. That's really important. They just got a new computer system in, and I write this poem, and I go out. And I come back in, and nobody talks to me, and nobody looks at me. This is a poem that's not in the book. I need to go home and look at my pubes, check them, inspect them. Naturally, they are with me now, but this task is too intricate for a hotel room, a friend's futon, we glorify put-down settee, or even the most cosiest of spare rooms, ready to meet my every need. I need to see my pubes. My routine, not too elaborate, leg over armchair, mirror placed carefully on thigh, reading lamp angled in private and silently. Even if I could afford cost me load surgery, no skill could remove the grey I find there, an increasing shroud to my wilting womanhood. And so I pluck and cry, I pluck and cry, I pluck. And when they eventually spoke to me in the art centre, they said, SuAndi, what's pubses?
And once again, SuAndi, everybody, thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.